So, imagine you're in the mid-19th century. Scientists are busy building the very first steam engines, right? They're stringing up the earliest telegraph wires. But there's this French writer named Eliphas Levi, and he's staring at the layout of modern printing presses.
Right. Not the machinery itself, but the type.
Exactly, the type, the numbers. And he's seeing a blueprint for basically hacking reality. He wasn't, out in a graveyard looking for ghosts or throwing together these chaotic seances. He was looking at the number 40, of all things, and treating it like an architectural code to the human mind.
Yeah, and that fundamentally flips our modern expectation of the occult. I mean, today we tend to view magic as this passive, spooky phenomenon, like waving a wand in the dark.
Like Harry Potter or something.
Exactly. But Levi steps into the spiritualism of his day and says, no, this is an intensely rigorous science of self-mastery. True high magic, at least in his view, is the exact opposite of chaos. It is entirely about structural alignment.
And that structural alignment is the fortress we are exploring in today's deep dive. We have a massive stack of source material today, specifically unpacking a curriculum curated by researcher Ben Hod. We are looking at Key 1, Unit 6 of Eliphas Levi's School of High Magic.
It's a dense unit for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But our mission today is to decode Levi's highly esoteric analysis of the number 40. He bridges biblical tradition, Kabbalah, and Hermetic doctrine to explain how human willpower can be, structurally aligned with the infinite universe. Okay, let's unpack this. Because Levi doesn't actually start with abstract math or esoteric geometry. He starts with the pretty brutal practical demand.
Right, the prerequisite.
Yeah. Before you even think about approaching the magical threshold, you have to undergo a mandatory 40-day period of purification. And he says this is to harden the spirit.
Which is a phrase that trips a lot of modern readers up.
Mm-hmm.
We hear spirit and we associate it with something ethereal or maybe emotional.
Something floating and soft.
Exactly. But we really have to look at the etymology Levi is leaning on here. The Latin root of spirit is spiritus, which literally means vital breath. It is the animating vital force of your consciousness.
So it's not a ghost, it's your core drive.
Right. So when Levi says to harden it, he isn't telling you to, stop feeling your emotions or become an unfeeling robot. He is demanding a literal petrification of your imaginative faculty against something he calls the astral light.
And the astral light sounds like this beautiful glowing aura, but in Levi's framework, it's actually the most dangerous environment a practitioner can step into, isn't it?
Oh, it is lethal to the unprepared mind.
Yeah.
You have to think of the astral light not as a physical illumination, but as a deceptive cosmic mirror.
A mirror, okay.
Right, it's this fluid plastic medium that permeates everything, and its primary function is to reflect back a practitioner's deepest unexamined neuroses. So if you go into an esoteric operation with, say, unhealed trauma or hidden desires or deep-seated fears that you just haven't dealt with, the astral light will project those exact things right back at you, but magnified 1,000 times.
So if you see a demon, it's not some independent monster from hell. It's literally a projection of your own mind.
Exactly. It's your own unresolved stuff coming at you.
Which brings us to the twin gatekeepers of this threshold. Because Levi warns that if your spirit isn't sufficiently hardened, you will run headfirst into hallucination and terror. And I love the analogy here. If your ego isn't solidified, these cosmic forces will tear through your mind like a gale through an open window.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the etymological roots are vital here again. Hallucination comes from the Latin hallucinare, which means to wander in the mind.
To wander, not just seeing things, but losing your way.
Yes. It describes a state where you lose your subjective center, your will collapses, and you just become a passive vessel for whatever phantoms the astral light throws at you.
And then there's terror.
Right. Terror, coming from terror, is the physiological shock. It is the exact moment. The sheer scale of the cosmic reflection causes your will to completely break. This traces straight back to Iamblichus and Neoplatonic thought, actually.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they believe the gods, or the higher energetic currents, do not manifest to minds that are corrupted by unchecked passion or fear. The apparatus has to be clean.
Okay, so it sounds less like, opening a magical door and more like descending in a deep-sea submersible. Like, the astral light isn't evil, it's just the crushing pressure of the ocean.
Precisely.
And if there's a single structural flaw in your mental architecture, one unexamined trauma, one microscopic crack in your ego, that cosmic pressure finds it, and the whole hull just implodes.
Yeah.
But how does a practitioner actually go about building this mental architecture so they aren't shattered by the experience?
Well, A submersible requires intense structural integrity before you drop it into the Mariana Trench, right? That is the entire purpose of the 40-day purification. Levi specifies that you must build this integrity by purifying yourself both on the outside and on the inside.
Okay, inside and outside.
Yeah, and this is a structural separation based directly on Kabbalistic principles. The outside corresponds to the Kabbalistic world of Asaya, which is the realm of physical action, the material vessel.
I mean, I'm struggling to see the difference between this purification and basic sensory deprivation, though, because if you lock anyone in a quiet, dark room and severely restrict their diet for 40 days, which is essentially controlling the realm of Asaya, they are naturally going to start hallucinating.
Right, the brain just invents stimuli.
Yeah. So how is Levi's concept of hardening the spirit any different from just driving yourself into a dissociative state through extreme isolation?
What's fascinating here is that sensory deprivation aims to dissolve the ego by removing resistance. But Levi's process aims to crystallize the ego by forcing it to confront its own internal resistance.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you aren't just sitting in a dark room passively waiting for visions. That is where the inside purification comes in. This corresponds to the Kabbalistic world of Yetzirah.
Which is what? Exactly.
It's the world of formation, the realm of emotional and astral structures. So, while you are cutting off the sensory noise of the mundane world in Asaya, your active job in Yetzirah is to systematically purge your subconscious of all conflicting desires.
So you aren't emptying your mind, you're working.
Working incredibly hard. Sensory deprivation induces hallucination because the mind is idle. Levi's purification demands the mind be intensely, aggressively focused on aligning its own architecture.
So this isn't just a 40-day detox retreat. This is basically debugging your own subconscious source code so the system doesn't crash. Like, you're finding every contradictory line of code in your psyche and rewriting it until everything points in the exact same direction.
That's a great analogy. Levi understood that any internal contradiction, like any hidden conflict between what you say you want and what your subconscious actually desires, acts as a literal fracture line in your submersible.
And the pressure finds it.
Always. When the immense magical current passes through a fractured will, the energy doesn't just dissipate gently. It exploits the contradiction. The apparatus shatters, and you experience that physiological terror we defined earlier. You must be fundamentally unified in your intent.
Okay, I understand the mechanism of the purification now, but we need to talk about the duration. Why 40 days? If this is just a psychological debugging process, why does Levi insist on that specific number? Why not just say, purify yourself until you feel ready?
Because the number 40 carries immense historical and biblical weight. And Levi views this not as a coincidence, but as an energetic law of human psychology. Just consider the duration of the deluge.
Noah's flood, 40 days and 40 nights.
Right. Or Israel's wandering in the desert for 40 years, or Christ's temptation in the wilderness. In the Western esoteric tradition, 40 is the universal number of trial, transition, and absolute transformation.
It's like the standard measurement for a spiritual crucible.
Exactly. It represents the exact gestation period required for a total symbolic death and rebirth. In the Neoplatonic lineage, this process of radically stripping away the profane ego is known as catharsis.
And Levi doesn't just stop at the biblical history. He takes that historical precedent and roots it firmly in Kabbalistic gematria. He actually links the number 40 directly to the Hebrew letter mem.
He does. In Hebrew gematria, every letter has a numerical value, and 40 is the value of mem.
And mem means water, right?
Yes. The letter mem represents mayim, the Hebrew word for water. It signifies the primeval maternal matrix, the primal substance of creation. And in the context of our discussion, water is the perfect analog for the fluid plastic medium of the astral light that the Magus is trying to navigate and manipulate.
But wait, water is notoriously difficult to control. It just takes the shape of whatever it's in. If you just have pure mem, pure fluid astral light, you basically just have chaos.
Which is why the visual typographic nature of the Hebrew language becomes so crucial to Levi. The letter mem has this brilliant paradox built right into its grammar.
How so?
Well, when it is written at the beginning or middle of a Hebrew word, it has this open, flowing shape. But when it is placed at the very end of a word, it changes shape entirely. It becomes what is called mem sophet, the final mem.
Oh, right. The final letters in Hebrew change shape.
Exactly. And the shape of the final mem is a perfect closed square.
Oh, wow. It seals the energy completely. That is brilliant. So it takes that fluid, chaotic water and binds it inside a rigid perimeter.
Levi points to the mem sophet to demonstrate that magic is not a chaotic eruption of willpower. It is a rigorous, self-contained system of incubation. The open mem is the fluid potential, sure, but the final mem, the square, is the realization of that potential contained within a strict boundary.
It's the difference between a puddle and a high-pressure sealed battery. I mean, if you want to build a battery that actually powers something, you need that rigid, square container. Otherwise, all that fluid potential energy just spills out across the floor uselessly. You need the absolute boundary of the final mem to hold the psychological charge.
That's it, exactly. Anything less than that rigorous containment isn't magic. It's just playing with matches in a room full of gunpowder.
Yeah.
You are building the vessel for the great work, and the geometry of the square is completely non-negotiable.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because if this is all based on ancient Hebrew gematria and biblical allegories, how does a 19th century French occultist reconcile this with the modern industrialized world he lives in? I mean, did Levi just ignore the technological revolution happening all around him?
Not at all. He actually embraces it. You
Yeah.
have to remember, Levi was writing in post-revolutionary France. This was a society that was rapidly abandoning superstition in favor of technological progress and Enlightenment rationalism.
Right, the age of reason.
Yeah. So instead of retreating into dusty medieval grimoires, Levi looks directly at the modern world. He examines the literal typography of standard Arabic numerals on the printing presses of his day, the digits 4 and 0.
He just looks at a printed number 40.
He does. And he doesn't see a mundane measure of quantity. He sees a violent metaphysical operation hiding in plain sight.
So for Levi, the printing press isn't just stamping numbers on paper, it's stamping cosmic circuitry. Let's break down how he reads the number 40, starting with the 0.
He basically unmasks the 0. He says it is not a void, it is not nothingness. The modern typographic 0 is the ancient circle, the Ouroboros.
With snake eating its own tail.
Right. It represents the infinite potential of the Ein Sof, the unmanifest chaos that the old alchemists called prima materia.
Yeah.
It is boundless, undifferentiated energy.
So the 0 is this roaring, infinite engine of the cosmos, just pure, terrifying potential. But, I mean, pure potential without form is entirely useless to a practitioner. It can't actually manifest anything.
And that is exactly where the digit 4 comes into play. Levi describes the 4 as summarizing the ternary by the unity.
Okay, we definitely need to translate that for the listener. What is the ternary and how does the unity summarize it?
Sure. Think of the ternary as a recipe. In Kabbalistic architecture, the ternary is the triad of manifestation. You have the agent, the patient, and the action.
Give me a concrete example.
Let's say you have the baker, the flour, and the mixing process. You have
Yeah.
all the ingredients for bread, but right now you just have a messy kitchen. It remains abstract potential.
Okay, I follow.
The unity is the activating spark. It's turning on the oven. When you add that transcendent unity, the spark of intent, to the ternary triad of ingredients, you project the abstract concept into physical reality. 3 + 1 = 4. The oven makes it actual bread. You create the quaternary.
And the quaternary is the 4.
Yes. This is the cross, the 4 elements, the square of base physical reality.
Wow, okay. So the 4 is the absolute structure. If the 0 is the infinite roaring engine of the cosmos, the 4 is the steering wheel of the disciplined human will. You need both to actually drive reality anywhere.
That is the exact equilibrium Levi is pointing to with the number 40. Because if you just surrender your mind to the infinite 0, the circle, you dissolve. You lose your subjective center and succumb to hallucination. You literally go mad.
But if you go the other way,
If you stay trapped purely in the 4, the rigid square of material reality, you become a materialist drone with no connection to the divine spark. 40, the specific typographic arrangement of the 4 standing next to the 0, is the precise formula for manifestation. It is the infinite cosmic engine harnessed by a singular focused human will.
that is incredible. But he takes this typographic obsession even further, though. He moves from Arabic numerals to Roman numerals. And he uses the language of the Roman Empire, which ironically is the very authority that historically suppressed this kind of esoteric gnosis, to reconstruct the entire architecture of the cosmos.
It is arguably his most elegant subversion. He uses the Roman orthography to reveal the hidden structure of the temple. The Roman numeral for 40 is 4 tens, XXXX.
Let's map this out visually for the listener because the arrangement here is everything. Levi doesn't just write them in a straight horizontal line, does he? He stacks them.
He arranges the 4 X's to form a diamond and a cross simultaneously.
Okay, so picture one X at the top, one X at the bottom, and two X's flanking them on the left and right sides.
Right. And before we look at the whole diamond shape, let's look at the anatomy of just a single X. In Greek, this letter is the dekes, the 10. Visually, an X is the exact graphic intersection where the celestial vertical plane meets the terrestrial horizontal plane.
The crossing point.
Yes. By clustering 4 of these tens together, he is invoking the Kabbalistic concept of Malchut. This is the 10th Sephira on the Tree of Life. It represents the material kingdom, the final receptacle for all divine emanations, and crucially, it's the gate through which the Magis must operate.
So a single X represents the spiritual colliding with the physical. But when you stack them into this diamond formation, top, bottom, left, right, what does that macro structure represent?
When you look at those X's arranged in a diamond, you are looking at a geometric translation of the fundamental doctrine of Hermes. As above, so below. The top X perfectly mirrors the bottom X.
The macrocosm reflecting the microcosm.
Exactly. It is a visual shorthand designed to bypass the conscious intellect entirely. Levi believed that symbols aren't just arbitrary representations, they are metaphysical circuits. This arrangement acts as a geometric seal of human volition.
And if you look really closely at the negative space between those 4 stacked X's, you're suddenly looking at 2 overlapping triangles. The Seal of Solomon is literally hiding inside the Roman numerals for 40.
Which is mind-blowing. The Seal of Solomon, the hexagram of 2 interlaced triangles, is the universal emblem of perfect equilibrium in high magic.
It's the ultimate symbol of balance.
Yes. And in Levi's diamond arrangement of the X's, the forward slashes and backslashes act as structural buttresses for this hidden seal. The forward slash rises to the active solar right. The backslash descends to the passive lunar left. It's a flattened skeletal rendering of the pillars of Jachin and Boaz from the Temple of Solomon.
Representing severity and mercy?
Right.
It seems like the entire system is just obsessed with balance. Like if you lean too far into severity or too far into mercy, the submersible cracks.
Absolute balance.
Right.
You know, the Hebrew root for Solomon is shalom, which means completeness or peace, but in the context of high magic, peace does not mean rest, it means equilibrium.
That tension holding everything together.
Exactly. Levi lived through the ideological collapses of the 1848 revolutions in France. He watched firsthand what happens when immense political and social forces are unleashed without structural containment. He knew intimately that without equilibrium, you were destroyed by the very forces you attempt to evoke. The Roman numeral diagram is a structural blueprint for the containment of absolute force within finite form.
So what does this all mean? I mean, we started with a mandatory 40-day period of grueling psychological purification. We moved through the Hebrew letter mem, transforming into a rigid square. We unpacked the cosmic engine and the steering wheel hidden in modern Arabic numerals, and finally mapped out a hidden hexagram inside the Roman orthography for 40.
It was quite a journey.
It really is. Eliphas Levi basically took a number and transformed it from a simple measure of time into a comprehensive, multi-layered physics of the mind. It is a guide for psychological stability, cosmological balance, and the focused manifestation of human intent.
And it serves as a stark reminder that true power does not come from passive belief or theatrical rituals. It comes from the agonizing, tedious, hyper-focused work of building the vessel. The magic is in the structure.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. Why does a 19th century French occultist's obsession with typographic geometry matter to you today? I mean, even if you have zero interest in esoteric philosophy, Levi's core lesson is incredibly practical. We live in an era characterized by constant, weaponized sensory overload.
To say the least.
Right. Our attention is fractured 1,000 times a day by notifications, advertisements, and endless scrolling. Taking the time to purify your inside and outside, to deliberately cut the noise, debug your own subconscious contradictions, and solidify your singular will is basically the only way to navigate modern life without being pulled apart. If you want to master your own reality, you have to build your fortress first, or the pressure of the world will simply crush your hull.
And it leaves us with a fascinating, slightly unsettling question. Levi looked at the completely mundane Arabic and Roman numerals of his 19th century printing presses and saw geometric tools designed to channel the infinite astral light. He believed universal truth imprints itself onto our technology.
So true.
So what hidden psychological containers, what structural geometries are shaping our collective human will right now? Just hiding in plain sight within the digital interfaces, the app icons, and the everyday typography we stare at on our screens every single day.
Are we scrolling through an interface, or is the interface quietly programming our psychological architecture? The magic isn't gone, it just updated its operating system. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.